In this video, we're going to discuss our strategies for adding in word problems. So we're going to use this strategy that we call the 4 looks strategy. So you are going to give each word problem 4 looks or 4 read-throughs. In the first look, when you read through it, you're going to just notice. And you're going to notice who is in the story or who is the story about, what are they doing, and what is the question asking. When you read through it a second time or give it a second look, we're going to draw a picture or a model that represents the problem so that we know how to solve the problem. In our third look or our third read through, this is where we're going to solve the problem based on our model, and then we're also going to check it to make sure that we solved it correctly. And in the fourth and final read through or look is where we should be able to write out a summary or tell a summary of how you solve the problem to show that your answer is reasonable. Now let's practice using our 4 look strategy to solve this word problem. So let's give it a first look or first read through. Last year, a publishing house shipped 76,103 copies of new books, as well as 4,611 copies of old books to Clear Fork Elementary. How many books in all did the publishing house ship? So in our first look, or what we should notice first, is who or what is our story talking about? And our story is talking about the publishing house. And we can highlight that in our word problem. Then we need to notice what the publishing house is doing. And what they're doing is shipping 76,103 new books and 4,611 old books. I'm going to highlight that. So they shipped 76,103 copies of new books, as well as 4,611 copies of old books. And the last thing we should notice is the question. How many books in all did the publishing house ship? And that is our first look. Now let's move on to our second look or our second read through. Last year, a publishing house shipped 76,103 copies of new books, as well as 4,611 copies of old books to Clear Fork Elementary. How many books in all did the publishing house ship? And in our second look, this is where we want to draw a picture or a model that represents our story. So we know that there are 76,103 new books. So there's one part of our story. And then another part, we know that there are 4,611 copies of old books. And our question wants to know how many books there are, or how many books are being shipped total. So that's what we're trying to find. And so our model we would use is a part, whole model. And we learned that in our last videos that part, whole means to add. And that is our second look. Okay, now we're going to move on to our third look, or our third read through. Last year, a publishing house shipped 76,103 copies of new books, as well as 4,611 copies of old books to Clear Fork Elementary. How many books in all did the publishing house ship? So in our third look is where we're going to solve the problem. And we know that we're going to add based on our model in our second look. So we are going to add 76,103 plus 4,611. And when you write your problem, you need to make sure that you are stacking and lining up your place values. So we're going to add starting in the ones place. So 3 plus 1 is 4. 1 plus 0 is 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. And 6 plus 4 is 10. Remembering, we can't put but only one digit in each place value, so we need to carry to the 10,000s place. And 7 plus 1 is 8. You'll have to excuse my writing. So our answer is 80,714 total books. Now in our third notice, we don't want to just stop at solving the problem. We want to make sure that we solve the problem correctly, so we need to check. And the way that you would check an addition problem is to do the opposite operation of subtracting. So we are going to subtract 80,714, take away 4,611. And the same with adding, you want to make sure when you write your problem that you stack up your numbers in the correct place value. Starting in the ones place, 4 take away 1 is 3. 1 take away 1 is 0. 7 take away 6 is 1. 4 take away 0, we can't do that. So we need to go over to the next place value, and we're going to borrow. It becomes a 7, and that becomes a 10. So 10 take away 4 is 6. And then bring down your 7. So 76,103, check. Matches 76,103. So our answer is correct. All right, now we're going to give our problem a fourth and final look. Last year, a publishing house shipped 76,103 copies of new books, as well as 4,611 copies of old books to Cliff Fork Elementary. How many books in all did the publishing house ship? And in our fourth and final look is where we want to be able to summarize either by telling or writing the steps that you did to solve the problem so that you show that your answer, that you understand how you solved the problem and that you show that your answer is reasonable. And so we're going to use our last 3 looks to explain that. So in our first look is what we noticed about who is our story about, what are they doing in the question. So the publishing house gave Clear Fork 76,103 new books and 4,611 old books. We need to determine how many books the publishing house gave Clear Fork. So that's what we did in our first look. In our second look, that's where we drew our model. So the model we used was part whole to show addition because we had 2 parts of 76,103 and 4,611, and we wanted to know the total between the 2 types of books. And in our third look, that is where we solved the problem. So we added 76,103 and 4,611 for the sum of 80,712 books. I checked my work by subtracting 4,611 from 80,712 and found the difference of 76,103. And that is how you do our fourth and final look.